Alrighty, good morning everybody. Sorry we're running a couple minutes late, but welcome to the July 15th, 2024 Grants Pass City Council Workshop. And we're going to start off this morning just with the agenda review because we're going into mostly spending our time in executive session today. So, it's kind of a weird way to start, but we have a meeting on Wednesday night this week where we will have a series of public hearings adopting the 5-year annual action plan for the CDBG Community Development Block Grant. We are having another hearing, a series of hearings having to do with the Harbeck cottages. So one would be looking at annexing them into the city by request. One is a property line adjustment, and one is a comp plan map / zone map amendment. Then we also have a couple of ordinances regarding development code text amendments for Article 7 and Article 28. Sign code appeal at 1867 Redwood Avenue. And then an ordinance for Shannon Lane requesting a partial street vacation. And then your consent calendar has a resolution regarding the State Drinking Water Revolving Loan Fund, another one awarding a Dollar Mountain Trail construction project, resolution transferring ARPA funds to the water treatment plant, a resolution approving the IAFF agreement, a resolution for a school resource officer as well as school marshal services, a resolution acknowledging the monthly investment report for May and June, and another one approving the Grassroots finding of fact. And then we also will be looking at appointing committee members to the CEDC. Any questions? Rick?
I was wondering if we could have a memo on Dollar Mountain on the breakdown of the money. I realize we have money that's already allocated for that purpose, but there's various grants. And I thought it might be informative if we realize which areas are coming in. I realize tourist dollars and so forth. And it doesn't have to be exact, and I realize some of the grants may still be pending, but just gives us a better idea.
Yeah, certainly. We give you a council memo on the funding for Dollar Mountain and what we spent and what we've got in the,
I'm talking about
queue and stuff.
Specifically the funding for the trail.
For the trail, phase 1 trail.
Trail creation, because I think that's a 50% match. And that money in on the 50% match,
Yeah, that's correct. It was $350,000 grant from the state and then $350,000 match. Yep.
So there's only two sources?
Well, there's some other for the first phase. That's correct. That's the local match and then the grant.
Okay.
But there are some other revenues in the budget for Dollar Mountain.
No, I was just talking about this one. So if there's only two sources, no, that's not necessary. But so on our portion, the allocation's already in that fund, or?
Correct.
But in part of that was tourist dollars?
I'd have to check, but yes, I think it's either that or River Road Reserve funds.
Okay, that information would be handy, but other than that, I don't need more detail.
Sure, yeah, we can
Thank
clarify
you.
that.
Brian?
I was going to request that we have the consent calendar item of the IAFF agreement be a start item so we can vote separately on that.
Okay.
Thank you.
Anything else for Wednesday? Joel?
I'm not sure this is the appropriate time, but there was a previous topic that we requested that I don't see on the agenda, and before we're done with our discussion, we need to talk about it.
And what was that?
It was about cats in the park, feeding cats in the park.
Yep, August 21st.
When?
August 21st.
August 21st? Okay, thank you.
Okay, we do have our first Wednesday meeting in August is canceled due to Fair Week. We have, our next workshop will be August 5th. We have the City Hall / fire station kind of campus discussion, as well as Caveman Pool. So you'll see we moved a number of other items to later in the August or September. We don't have follow-up scheduled at this time on the park situation, so there may be a need for a special meeting or some sort of accommodation, depending on that. Joel?
So this is a different topic. Was there any follow-up on what the mayor just said before I go? Okay. The other topic that we tasked staff with and to come back with us is the YMCA and the options and what that looks like. And I know it needed some legal advice, and I know we probably haven't gotten that yet. So that was, 3 weeks ago or so? So we probably need to get that going and get that scheduled as well.
Okay, thank you.
So do we want to put a date for that so that they can coordinate with the lawyer?
I think it's kind of dependent on the
or
YMCA.
what do you want to do with that, Brad?
Joel, it's my understanding, we're waiting for the YMCA. They didn't have a real solid ask for us.
So I talked to the YMCA yesterday and the chairman, and they're waiting on the city to get the legal advice, and it has nothing to do with the YMCA. He's got his act together.
Okay. We'll make a note to look into the YMCA.
So what I would request then is that we get back with a date where that's completed, and I know our legal staff is contracted, but has he been tasked with that yet?
I would need to check with Josh on that particular thing. I do not have an answer for you today, Counselor.
Okay, so if
But
you
we
could do
can
that, I
certainly
appreciate it.
move that ahead, you bet.
Yeah, and it would be inappropriate for me to talk to Josh. Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Okay, anything further that you were hoping to get scheduled? No? All right, how about a motion regarding executive session?
I move to exit regular session and enter executive session.
I'm sorry, what? Oh, okay, sorry. Let me look for that. Okay, let's wait just a second. I'll read you. We have a motion from the Housing Advisory Committee requesting an amendment to their membership, removing the ex officio position for the Housing Authority of Jackson County and replacing the position with a position appointed by the City Council, one representative who is a 5+ multi-unit housing builder or developer. And so that's at your discretion. If that's something that you wish to consider, we can get it placed on a future agenda. It looks like, Brian, you have your hand up, then Val.
I just wonder who the housing, to explain, because I think, isn't Jason Elzy the Jackson?
Well, I was going to see if Amber had any context
Yeah.
for this motion.
Yeah, thank you.
Hello. So yes, the Housing Authority of Jackson County has relayed to the HAC that they would like to step down and not refill that position. So HAC did talk about it, and they saw the merit, the main merit that was being brought from them, other than that they do develop here, is that they had the insight into the multifamily development and development code barriers. So we were hoping to retain that insight in this new label or position.
Do you still have something?
No, that was my question, is where it was coming from, and it makes sense, because I know Jason Elzy was the person, and so they're requesting to step out and have somebody else more local in our jurisdiction, is my understanding. Okay, thank you.
Correct.
Joel?
One of the things that concerns me, and it's not just with this committee, but it's with several committees, we need the expertise. I have no qualms with that. But what we've done in the past is appoint them as official committee members, and they're actually people that benefit from the work being done. And rarely have I seen them recluse themselves from a conflict of interest. I can think of the housing before with with some of the nonprofits. I can think of the solar. I can think of perhaps the parks. Brian and accused the parks of that. And so one of the things I would like us to consider, rather than making the people with the expertise and that can benefit from the project an official committee member that actually votes and may recluse themselves or not, that they just come in as a consultant. And they have knowledge. That's what we're after. We're after knowledge. We're not after somebody, and not to say that this has happened, but it certainly is a temptation, somebody to design a project for their own company to do. And because that's a big temptation, and we're all human. So I would just ask us to consider that.
Rob?
I think you bring up a good point, Joel, but I also don't know where we would stop with that mindset. I would say that I can think of at least 3 members of the Historic Commission that have business interests downtown. That leaves the commission with nobody if you're, 4 actually, now that I'm thinking about it, at least 4. We've got a city councilor who's, a home builder, et cetera, et cetera. So where does that realistically end, And most of the people that are interested in something, whether it's a Parks Committee member or whatever, I'm sure they use the parks.
Sure.
And they probably use the favorite park near their house, et cetera, et cetera. So, if they're going to request more playground equipment, they recuse themselves because of the park near their house or the park near their granddaughter's house. I mean, you make a good point, but realistically, in a town this size, I don't know if it's practical to try to really implement what you're saying.
Well, I'm not saying that they don't need to be
Hold on,
involved.
Joel. Rather than having an extensive discussion about this right now, let's decide. Does the council want to discuss putting this on a future agenda, or having all committee makeups potentially be a future topic? Or do you want to just stick to the HAC's recommendation here, or do you want to just move on and wait for another day because we need to move on today? Brian?
I would say let's just put this specific topic for this specific committee on a future agenda. I'm not interested in opening the whole can of worms.
Okay, is there consensus on that, putting this on a future agenda? Okay, we will do that. Is there anything else for agenda setting today? Okay, let's move on to executive session. Vanessa?
I move to exit regular session and enter executive session.
Is there a second? Valerie, thank you. All in favor of moving into executive session today, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right. The council will now meet in executive session for the purpose of discussing those subjects